Welcome, everyone, to episode 382 of Dial of the Gate, the Stargate Oral History Project. Hi, Kelly.
Woo!
How are you?
I'm so good and I'm so happy to be back. Thank you for having me.
So, you just watched The Thing,
I
and
did. Holy moly. So you reached out and said, let's come back together. This is the best news. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the best news. And then you said, Roland's on board. And I said, what? And so I just actually watched the interview or the announcement
yeah,
that you did with Martin, Brad, and Joe. And you know, what I actually felt more than anything in that was there was a moment where I think it was Martin who was actually really honoring you for holding the heartbeat and the community in terms of like really keeping this alive with all of the people who love Stargate.
well, thank you. It's been such a privilege to be one of the torchbearers for this thing over so many years, and those folks are good folks, and they have kept the fans front and center in everything that they've done. They've recognized that there is no show, there is no ongoing thing without the audience. And I think that it's got the perfect people at the helm. But I mean, this is, like I said to you before, if it's anyone's franchise, it's yours. And Alexis is. I mean, you guys grew up with this thing in your
Yeah,
lives. So, what does it
yeah.
feel like having it come back? And the fact that Roland and Dean are executive producers on whatever this is going to be, it's it's got to be magic.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I felt. And it's like the representation even of the Stargate portal, the full circle, right? Things coming back around. And it's
Yeah.
almost like this bending of time, collapsing time, right? Because that is essentially what the Stargate is capable of doing. It's like
It can.
moving, right?
Yeah.
Beyond the dimensions of time, space, like this idea of reality. And so it is such an incredible thing to watch these initial energies that were part of the initiation of this epic movement, really, to come back around and to be part of the reviving of the heartbeat. Not even reviving, because it's like it stayed steady. And that is the thing that I really felt, David. It was like, wow, that honor. He really took the moment to say to you,
And Darren. Yeah.
thank you. And Darren, thank you so much for you guys really fanning the flames of the medicine and the magic that is this, right? Like he really made a point to say that. And it's true, you guys have. So, what I'm seeing right now across the board and in the world, there's something really important about the amplification and elevation of that kind of energy. Because when I was with you a year ago, and
Mm.
when I've looked at some of the podcasts and the interviews and all the things that you've done and how you've shared about Stargate, what I feel is the purity of service. Like there is an essence and a frequency and a field that you're holding that is so pure and has so much integrity. And that is the very thing that I'm actually seeing is the most important for what we're navigating together right now on the planet. And so that piece feels like, yes, you have been a part of why this gets to be possible because you and Darren have been holding the frequency of honor and integrity and devotion connected to the heartbeat of what Stargate really is.
Well, I appreciate that. I have trouble digesting anything. I thank you. I will say thank
Yeah,
you.
there you
So,
go. There you go. Ooh, ooh, a little hard, a little hard. But
I'm
it's true.
sorry.
You
Uh,
did so good.
so what comes next, do you think? What do you think is
It's so,
gonna happen now? I mean, I am so hopeful that this thing that they're going to birth spawns two or three other things, one of which, honest to God, I really hope is Dean and Roland's original 3-film trilogy idea with modifications to include what came before. And the thing is, as any diehard Stargate fan will tell you, the built-in universe has doorways that can lead to those other things. So what would you like to see next?
Oh my gosh, I just love what you said. The fact that this has a life of its own. Okay, it's
Yeah.
like that is the thing that when I just look at, because I have my own, because of that story. I have a mentor who talks about this, right? It's like because of that, then this, then this, then this, then this. And if
Yeah.
we really look, her name is Melanie Anlayer for the record, but she's brilliant, and we can weave a web of the
Yeah.
field of the miraculous, depending on how we're looking at something, right? So I have a million because of that stories that are connected to that moment in my life, and I'm just one of the instruments. Do you understand? So it's like, I think about the thousands of people that were on set that day. I think about you. I think about Darren. I think about all the producers, Roland. Like, I think about all of the actors, actresses, and then everybody who watched these films and then created another show and then watched the show. It's like the energy of this and the web that we are all co-weaving together. And the way that each one of us has a story connected to the initiation, this very first movie, 1994, right? Like there's a because of that that has led to, I don't, maybe a billion freaking because of that, if you really stretched it out. So in this moment, it's like, wow, it's coming back around.
Mm.
The fact that there is the original, like that there are some of the original instruments that created that first one, because there's something about that, that there's reverence, respect,
Mm.
there's a kind of honor that you can't like reproduce or manufacture,
Mm-mm.
right? So the stewardship in that, it's like there's a difference between somebody who just wants to create something because they want something back from it, and somebody who's creating something because there's devotion and there's love for the actual thing that it is. So
Oh, you can, and
that
you can
part,
tell if you're paying attention, you
yes.
can you can tell the difference because I think we all, if we're lucky and that we're not too gullible, intrinsically recognize when we're being toyed with. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
we all intrinsically recognize when something is genuine and sincere because I think it hits us differently. It hits us differently in here. And I think that that's one of the things that has struck all of us who are watching about numerous aspects of this franchise from the top on down, from the feature that Dean and Roland created through Brad, Jonathan, Robert, Joe and Paul, Martin Gero, all of these folks as sincere, and how it hits us differently at different points in our lives with each different story. Sure, some are not going to resonate the same way, but others come back around. I just got off with Charles Shaughnessy not an hour ago, talking about so much of how so much of one episode is considerably more relevant now than it was the day that it came out.
Mm.
And we resonate with that. There is, to quote, our past conversation, an alchemy there that is undeniable. And stories are at the core of our being. And Stargate,
Yes.
that thing right down there is a perfect portal for it. And I think that it's endless if it can be endless if it stays true to what it is, what it is trying to do, which is to service mankind with thoughts and entertain. And it's got to do both.
Right. You're actually blowing my mind right now, and this conversation is bringing something into focus and clarity around this, because you said that word last time, alchemy.
Mm-hmm.
And we are in an interesting time, and I've had some conversations with friends around just before we know it, it's going to be really challenging. It already is on some level to differentiate true from false when we're
Mm.
looking at AI, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
have you experienced this?
Yep. Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't tell anymore.
I know.
I'm
So
beginning to not be
that's
able to tell, and that's
correct,
scary.
right? That's an yeah, okay. So we could go down a whole thing about that. And it's like, oh, whoa, what happens when we lose touch with our ability and our capacity to differentiate true from false, okay? And what feels like it's like my prayer, my vision, my hope, the thing that I'm holding in it all
Mm.
is that that will become so uncomfortable for us as humans who actually have soul, right? Like we do have soul. And so from
Something's
what I've
going
seen,
on. Yeah.
from what I've seen though, it's like when we feel the absence of that enough, we get into enough discomfort that we're willing to seek the thing that brings us back to life. So when you were talking about that piece of being able to actually feel the resonance of when somebody is genuine or when there's an actual heartbeat, when there's actual service, intention, purity of where someone's coming from, that registers. We can
Yeah.
feel it. And so that's going to be the thing that I believe people are actually really hungry for and longing for. And so as you're sharing these pieces about the storylines, it's like what I just saw when you pointed to the Stargate portal behind you was connected to alchemy, that it's actually the Stargate portal that leads us back to the heart. It leads us back to the experience of being alive. It leads us back to that very essence that is connected to alchemy, that's connected to organic life, connected to all the elements that we are a part of, but it's in the stories, it's in the heart, it's in the humanity. And right now, now more than ever, can we bring to life the communities, the movements, the things that actually create that unification that is connected to the heart, to our humanity?
Mm.
Because, oh my gosh, can you look around and see like how easy it is right now in the fear that people are experiencing to like miss someone else's humanity,
Mm-hmm. It's
right?
so easy to devalue people now that it's scary. We're plugging
Right.
ourselves into these machines, and especially the Zoomers. I mean, some of them don't have a prayer. They of the human contact that is lacking, and entertainment is one of the few things left that really can bring us all together, as I experienced in my own house growing up. Science fiction did that for me and my dad.
Mm,
And it's, thank God for it. I really am so grateful that this show is about to come back on, because I think that it has a place in the modern world more than ever. I'm not BSing about that, and the fact that it takes place in the here and now, but has an off-world sci-fi element to it, I think will give it will 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 allow it to carve out a path that will be specific enough to us, but different enough that people will still be able to accept it and allow its stories to find meaning in their hearts for when it comes on for them to receive it. And I think that it is going to. I think that it is going to make a difference with a lot of people. I think that whatever it is that they're cooking up is going to be relevant in our modern world. It's, yes, it's going to entertain, of course, but I'm really interested in what Martin Gero has to say.
mm, yeah. And when you were going down the possibility of like, wow, okay, it's this now, and then does it connect back to,
Mm-hmm.
right, the trilogy and like what is now going to be birthed now that these original creators are
Mm-hmm.
coming back together again?
Mm-hmm.
And
In some cases,
yet,
ways that they've never before. I mean, you got Dean
right?
Devlin and Roland Emmerich on a project with Brad Wright, Joseph Malazzi, and Martin Gero. I mean, it's just like, geez, man, What? This is gonna be
Like,
cool.
what's about to happen?
What's about? I don't know. That's the
Right?
thing. That's why I had to have you on. If nothing else than to geek out for half an hour, because it's just like, because I know you get this,
Oh my
like on a
gosh.
species level, you get this, and
Totally.
this is a great time for Stargate fans. I'm really excited about the Stargate fans that don't even know that they're going to be fans yet, because this show isn't made for me; it's made for them,
Wow.
and they have no idea what's coming for them.
Wow. You know what? I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, yeah,
Because how many of the newer generations,
yep.
right, like just don't really have a connection to it,
Not
and
even
that
half
this
of the
is
parties are seated at the table yet.
right. And the table's already so full and so big.
I know. I know. 354 episodes, man, and 3 movies.
Wow.
What will they think of next? That's the thing. I think stories that survive are the stories that find new ways into us, because we're all on our own journey, and also at the same time we're also on a journey together.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of different ways to look at it, and Stargate services all of those things from episode to episode,
Yeah.
and it's why it's
Wow.
evergreen. It's
Yeah.
something that you can't. It's never down for the count. I forget. I think it
Right.
was Brad. I may be misquoting, who said sometimes it's not been a bright burning candle, but it's burned nonetheless,
Consistently. Yes,
consistently.
that's right. And but that is honestly, David, like why, and I'm going to say it again,
Yeah.
you and Darren, right? It's like there is a significant role that the two of you have played in having that fire burn. Truly, thank you.
It's been a ride, man, and I Kelly, the thing that I still have trouble processing is when I go on YouTube and I see a Stargate video and they're doing this and I click on it. I know I'm going to hear an accent or a language that's not mine. I know it.
Mm.
There is something so international about this show. And I'm so thrilled that for the first time, we're all going to get to watch this one together at the same time. That's the
Wow.
benefit of Prime Video, is that
Right.
we can all we can all view it the way that it was meant to be seen by a global audience, which is we can all get online and watch it together. I think that that's going to be the plan. I think for a lot of us, or maybe I'm just announcing that right here. I think that I would like to at least watch the pilot with everyone at the same time, because we have earned that as
Wow.
fans. Traveling the void between galaxies for 14 years. It's going to be 15 by the time we get the next one at least, and this is for all of us, and for you very much so as well.
Wow.
This is really cool, and I I I think that we're in for a really special ride. I guess if I were Martin, I'd be like, oh God, it's not going to be another Testament. It's a TV series, but at the same time, it's not.
Yeah, it's
It's
not. And as
it's a
you're
special thing
talking,
of entertainment.
it's beyond that actually. And when you were just actually weaving that right now with your words, okay, of like what I can see is how on a global level, this very thing, okay, this portal, this Stargate, this traveling through time, this epic freaking story that is connected to truth that goes beyond mostly what our human mind can comprehend. Okay. So, like that place where it's touched all over the globe, and for you to say out loud, I would really love to see that we all get to be in that moment of bringing the heartbeat of this back alive together. That there's actually something it's like it's a little bit hard to put into words.
Yeah, tell me about it.
I
I've been trying
right,
for
right.
years.
Like how to freaking describe this
I know. Because you
and
have to feel
digest
it.
it.
You can't think it. You have to feel it.
It's a feeling.
Hmm.
And also there is something that it's like this has a life of its own. I know I said that already,
Mm.
but there is an intelligence, a living intelligence that is beyond our comprehension, that is connected to Stargate from the very start of what this is and how it has stayed alive, and then now how it is coming back in this moment in time, and how it's connected globally, and how it is actually connecting so many of us, and how we are all connected in the quantum field, which is exactly what the Stargate on some level represents. So this is beyond actually what our human brain is going to be able to comprehend. It really is. Like, and I don't know how to say it.
It's a lot to take in. And at the end of the day, I am really looking forward to just a great story.
Yeah,
And um, it's going to take them as long as it's going to take. But also with our technology now, they can tell it in ways that they just couldn't even 14 years ago with Universe. There's so much there now that they can mine and bring to the screen for a fraction of the cost of what it would have cost.
right.
And with the resources of Amazon, I don't know what kind of a budget this thing's going to have, but it's not going to
Yeah,
be peanuts.
no,
And it's going to be really cool. So, yeah.
I really cannot wait to see it. And my son, my youngest son, is 11, right? So
Oh,
right. He's the age that I was in the first film when I went to Yuma, Arizona,
yeah.
and there wasn't the CGI, and it was unbelievable, the set, right? I was
Can you
thinking
recall that
about
moment
that.
again? Yeah, do me a favor.
Like
I love this story.
it was unbelievable. And I mentioned this the last time we talked, of really not understanding until I got to the set the bigness of what this actually was. And I still didn't quite get it, of course.
Mm.
I'm still digesting what this is. However, when I stepped onto that set in Yuma, Arizona, and I felt like I was literally transported to ancient Egypt, because they had literally created exactly what that would look like. Like, how do you make Egypt come to Yuma, Arizona, right? The bigness of that, the what went into that, the budget, the carving out of the mountains, the running through these sites that looked like real ancient archaeological sites,
It looked like an
the
excavation.
camels. Yes,
Yeah.
it was so wild. I mean, if you look at the screen nowadays, they would say, oh, is that like a green screen, or is this right CGI? No, this was actually the reality of what that looked like. And then just again, the details and the costumes and just the amount of people. And it was so incredible. And so now, right, it will be different because they can do so much with
Hmm.
so much less. And so to think that I can sit and watch now with my 11-year-old,
Yeah.
right? And that this is one of the new people at the new table
That's
that's
right.
getting so much bigger. There's a new generation of humans that get to join this incredible epic heartbeat web, the table of Stargate. And my son, who's 11, gets to be one of them. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, no, this is for them. This the stuff that really sticks with me is that which I absorbed at around 11 years old. Empire Strikes Back, you know,
Yes.
Stargate came a few years later, but Star Trek: The Next Generation was really big in my life, and that kind of entertainment. I think that I've accepted it more as I've gotten older, but childhood dreams don't have to die. And you can keep a part of the innocence of yourself that is the dreamer into adulthood. you can't let it run away with itself, because you have to, feed yourself and pay the bills and everything else. But at the same time, I think our childhood dreams are the strongest. And if we get to execute those in any way as adults, I think that it's so fulfilling. And so I think that, for speaking for myself, has been one of the greatest privileges. But I just you are so intrinsically connected to this thing, because you were there, in scene one, and it's always going to be connected to you. You're always going to feel it, and it's so cool that it's just coming back around again, and I can't wait for the ride that we're about to all get on. But I can, there's something about me that's like, let's bask in this for a little while. Let's let them take as long as they need to take to make it right.
Yeah. There is something so incredibly valuable about the lesson of slowing down to speed up. And it is one that life has been very
Yeah.
generous with me around, right? It's like the savoring, the being in the presence, the magic, the essence of what it is, rather than just the tendency and the compulsion that we have as humans to like
Go,
get
go,
to the thing.
go.
Right.
The
So I
journey,
love that you
man.
said that. And look at this, what I have on actually.
Aww.
Yeah. So I am connected always. It's like this is so significant. And after we talked, and it's key moments too, and this is part of the piece where I'm just like, I'm one instrument, right? In the like orchestra of all of us that are
Mm.
connected to this living, gorgeous Stargate. Okay. So when this has come into my life and come back, it has been pivotal moments that have all been significantly connected to Stargate, to Egypt, to these pieces and these moments. So after I went, um, after our last interview or conversation, hanging out, I was on my way to Egypt. And you connected me, right, to get the replicas for the necklaces. And I got some for the people that I was taking to Egypt. And I had this moment where I was like, I don't know, is this like weird? Do they even know what Stargate is? I'm bringing these, and then I just have this deep intuition, just bring them and give them to them as gifts, okay? So I bring them, and one of the guys who is there on the trip with me, who has become like a dear brother of mine, who was a client and still is, but just what a story this guy has, okay? Like what a story he has. And he says to me, "Oh my gosh, I cannot believe you're giving me this necklace. I remember watching that movie as a kid and literally said to my brother, one day I'm gonna have a necklace like that."
Yeah.
I mean,
Talk about manifesting.
right? And so then this whole crew finds a jeweler in Egypt, okay? And they make real gold freaking necklaces, like the Stargate necklace. And they all go home with these necklaces, okay?
Wow.
And I know it's so wild, right? But it's like those kinds of connections. And later he said to me, he said, I have such a deep connection to the necklace and to the
Hmm.
movie. But it's also like there was something that I was connected to you and the significance of that. But that to me is the representation of the Stargate portal. It's like traveling in and outside of time and making all of these connections and the understanding that we are interwoven. Like there is no actual separation between us. So in this moment where seemingly there is, the most incredible thing that we could do is connect ourselves back to that truth of no matter what it looks like, the circumstance and how scary it looks or how much we
Mm.
want to feel separate from it, we're not. And so this coming back in right now and being a community that it's like all this outside stuff gets put to the side because there's a common heartbeat, a common thread, a common purpose, which is the love for this. It's the love for Stargate. That is the flame, right? That you guys have helped steward and keep alive over all of these years. But it's like, may that get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And what is so amazing is fire is the only element that cannot be polluted. So if you look at air, it can be polluted. You look at the waters, we've done quite a number there. We look at the lands, they can be polluted. Fire cannot. So it will burn everything unlike itself back into itself. That's alchemy. And so that part of the fire, right, that has been kept alive consistently, whether it's like blazing or it's just the flickering of a candle, it's alive. And it has been staying alive. And now it's going to go like this. And I can't wait to see what happens. I'm really excited.
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Raj wanted to know if you were asked, would you be interested in taking part in some way in the continuing series?
Absolutely. And I thought about this for a moment because, I stepped out of that world and
Yeah.
I don't have the thing where I'm like, I need to be in movies, I
Yeah.
need to be. And part of it is that energy thing of like, I need this in order to, okay? There's so much of that in Hollywood that it was like, that was a bit of why I just actually didn't want to participate. I don't like the way that feels. It doesn't feel honest. It doesn't feel true. It doesn't feel in sacred reciprocity. And so when
Oh
I've
boy, is
tuned
that true?
into, right, it's transactional. It's
Yeah.
like, what am I going to get from this? And I don't like that at all. And I want nothing to do with
That's
that.
right.
But when I tune into Stargate, it's like the essence is sacred reciprocity. It is service. It's like what kept it alive is service. What initiated it was service. And so if there was an invitation back, it feels so clean and feels so in integrity for what I stand for that I would be an F yes.
Not yes, but F yes.
That's right.
Uh, Teresa MC, um, do you think something like the gate might actually exist somewhere? You personally, yeah?
I do. Yeah. I think there are many gates and yes, my belief is yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't even think I realized we were live, just FYI. I just thought we were
Oh, I'm
just
so sorry.
recording and it was gonna. No, this is great. I
I'm
love
so
it.
sorry. My
It's amazing.
apologies.
There's questions. I'm like, oh, good. This is my favorite part. Let's go.
This is. I need to be a little bit more clear about that. I'm so embarrassed. The
Don't even. I actually love it so much. Live is better. That's why it feels alive.
what
Great.
Shaso Costris. I'm going to modify this a little bit, Shaso. What was it like to be welcomed back for Stargate Origins? What was that experience like? We talked about it a little bit last time. I'm hoping you
Yeah.
can touch on it again.
Yeah. It was so incredible. Again, like the weaving and the synchronicity of how this even happened. I had met the director somewhere else. So then we were talking and she said, oh my God, I have this amazing news. I can't tell you yet, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, cool. I can't wait to hear it. I had no idea what it was going to be about. And then she called and said, I'm going to be directing the next Stargate. And I said, wow, that's so cool. Amazing. I get why you would want to tell me because I'm connected to it and we know each other. And she goes, I
You
want
knew
you
her
to come
completely
do a
unrelated,
cameo.
though, right?
What's that?
I apologize. You knew her completely unrelated, though, right?
Completely unrelated.
Wow. And then what did she
No, no,
say?
no. Completely unrelated. And she's like, I was just celebrating the fact that she was doing that. She was so excited about it. I actually had no idea she was going to ask me to come. And then she said, well, would you come do a cameo? And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Yes, it was the same feeling that when you just asked me, it's like, yes, I would come do this because there's joy. And it's like, what can I give and contribute to this? Not like this is gonna give me something, right? And it was just so incredible. I did not know also that we were going to be basically kind of replicating the original scene. So when they gave me that glove, that was the same glove that I put on my hand at 11 years old, and then asked me to pick the necklace up, right? Like
Yeah.
not obviously in ancient Egypt, but like from her chest where she was wearing it.
Uh-huh.
And I'm looking and I'm like, again, traveling back in time. It's like time
That had to have
collapsed.
been unreal.
It was unreal. It was amazing. And everybody on the set was amazing. I had the best time. And it was, again, such a significant part of my journey in life and the web of what has connected me to Stargate all along. So, yes, amazing.
Wow.
Thank you for asking.
I am really curious to know what Roland and Dean's plans were for the next two. He's told us a little, Dean told us a little bit about it when we had him on one of our first episodes here on Dial the Gate, but um, there's such a universe to explore on that side. And there's technology in again in the show that in the TV series that would allow that would facilitate that without trouncing on anything that came before in that timeline. What do you think they were planning on doing with the other two movies? Did you give any consideration to that?
To be honest with you,
Yeah.
I did not
Okay.
know that there was even conversation about two other movies until you just said that today.
They were supposed to.
So,
They were considering a trilogy. That's why the Stargate has
okay,
9 chevrons instead of 7.
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
And when you said it today, what I felt was that conversation is coming back to life.
I sure hope so
I
because
really,
I think that
I
there's
when
room
you
for
said
everyone
it,
under the
it felt
tent.
true for me. So I could be totally wrong.
Yeah.
My intuition could be off. But when you said it, I was like, oh, that wasn't the time,
Yeah.
right? And so now feels like it is. And that's an interesting thing when it's like things get created, we attach ourselves to when it's going to happen instead of sometimes just like letting go and understanding that, yes, it's happening. It's just not happening right now as we're experiencing right now.
We
But
have
it
trouble
feels like
letting
a good
go.
time. We
Yeah.
have a really, we're like this, as humans.
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
know.
There is a propensity to survive at all costs, and that includes creative endeavors as well, where it's like, look, there is a time and a place for this stuff, and um, there is so much fun in that original film. That you've really got the Earthside stuff that's happening that's serious and militaristic and cool in its own way. And then once you get to Abydos and you meet these colorful characters and this outsized, larger than life villain, there's a lot that's happening there. And I always did want to see more, so long as it doesn't get in the way of what we fell in love with in the show. And I
Yes.
do think that there is room for both.
Yeah.
I think that you can have both. It's a door. It's rare. A couple of times the Stargate was used to travel through time, but it's mainly a doorway through space, and you can go into side spaces with it and tell other
Exactly.
adventures on other sides of other layers of reality. So
Right.
there's a
That's
reason
the
that
thing.
Kurt Russell doesn't look like Richard Dean Anderson, and that's okay. But they can still both be Jack O'Neill. Just one has one L and the other has two.
But this is the piece, and so when even someone's asking about the Stargate portal, do I believe that that's so I do, but like my sense is that there there are places that operate outside of time. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
it's like past, present, future, parallel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's all happening
Mm-hmm.
right now.
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Yes, exactly. And for our human understanding in mind that is organized around specific constructs of time, and it's like, you know, there's people who are like, oh, our ego is not our amigo, right? And it's like, yeah, sometimes it's not.
Ah!
Okay. And sometimes
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
because you know what? That ego construct actually gives us the capacity to be in the human experience and organize reality in a way that we can digest that.
Mm.
right? Because when we start traveling into parallel timelines, past, present, future, collapsing time, bending time, understanding that this dimension and this dimension are happening at the same time, right? So are we traveling through dimensions? Are we traveling through time? Is there time? Like, there's a lot to consider in that, right? And this movie is like, I mean, there's a lot of things that have come out since then
Yeah.
that point to this, okay? But
Yeah.
at the time, there were not a lot of things suggesting that parallel universes, multi-dimensional realities are in existence. Like, that was a radical notion at the time,
Much more theoretical. Yeah.
right? So
The
now
multiverse
we have
wasn't
a
a
lot of
thing
things.
in quantum physics. Not really.
Okay, correct,
Yeah.
right. But now we have a lot of things that are pointing to, oh, wow, yeah, okay, sci-fi idea. And how much of the sci-fi is actually woven with, right, like actual reality.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a way, anyways, going back to what you were saying, I think there's a way to create it all, to really honor the essence of all of the things that have already been created and still be able to seemingly go back in time, right? And go back to the conversation of the trilogy where it's like
Mm-hmm.
nothing from the original movie to the series, like nothing gets dishonored or diminished or any of that, that it's like, whoa, there is a way to actually
Can
create a
make
storyline that
Yeah.
amplifies and
It can
elevates it all.
it can build it upon its own lane,
Yeah.
you know? And you could have a meeting up, you know, further down the line. There's all kinds of stuff. One of my favorite modern films is a comic book movie, which I don't say that often, which is the last Spider-Man that came out, and
Mm,
it brought together Tobey Maguire and the, he's the only one that I can name right now off the top of my head, but all three of the Spider-Man characters from the live action universe in a story that made it all work, and it was extremely well received. And if that can be successful, Stargate can do it as well. And I think that films like that have paved the way for audiences' minds to be freed a little bit more from the trappings of, well, this thing is something that I really love over here, and if this comes out, then by definition of it existing, it must supersede that thing that I love. And that is not true. Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland. Thank you, Philippe Canat. Thank you. And there's room for everybody at this table as long as the story is good story, you know,
yeah.
and speaks to us intrinsically. And I think
Yes.
Martin Gero does that as a writer, just effortlessly. It's kind of ridiculous how he can just keep on hammering these things out like cookies.
What a gift, huh?
It is a gift. That's
It
absolutely
is a
right.
gift. It is a gift. And how incredible that he's using it in the way that he is. And how fortunate are we that
I'm
it is.
thrilled he's back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He wrote my favorite episode of Stargate Atlantis, which is called Sunday.
Mm.
And a key character in the show gets killed. And it's always stayed with me ever since. In my opinion, it's the episode was diminished by some things that happened in the plot later on, but that episode has always stuck with me. And Joel Goldsmith's sweeping score by the end of it it's one of the best moments in sci-fi. And if that's how he wrote back in 2006
Right.
for Stargate, that was 19 years ago. You know,
Right.
it's going to be 20 years by the time his vision, you know, is shown to us again, if not more. And it's back to my point all the way around the circle. I can't wait.
That's right. And if we think about, right, 10,000 hours to create mastery around something,
Yeah.
20 years, okay? Like, there was already a level of mastery with him and his gift,
Intrinsic, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so now how many 10,000 hours has compounded on that gift and the level of mastery that he had when he was writing the show. Now, what even can this be?
Life
Like,
experience and knowledge and
that's right.
current events and our technology and scientific discovery.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of toys in the toy box to play with, along with the old toy box. Keep it close. So,
Yes, like he has a lot of things at his
yeah.
disposal, but also the fine tuning, right, of that instrument is like we are beyond fortunate and blessed that this is where this is coming from.
Yeah. Whoop.
Yeah. Ooh.
I love your
Oh,
display.
oh, thank you
You
so
have
much.
beautiful plants.
Thank you. I have
Absolutely.
plants everywhere. I love plants so much I cannot even tell you. Seriously. And in a time, seriously, where it's like what, the way in which things are moving so quickly and the world of technology and the world of AI and all of that, it's like there is a deep, deep, deep calling in my body of like, okay, yes, stay grounded to right organic life, to plants, to this planet, and also how do they work together,
They're at a
right?
much slower pace than we are. We could learn something from them.
100%. You want to talk about slowing down to speed up? We could learn a lot if we slowed down and paid attention to the way that things are around here. And not only in the world of technology and the moving so fast and getting something in half of a second. It's like there is something exquisite. And I really appreciated you actually saying that about like as much as I want to see it, there's also
Oh
a
yeah.
deep appreciation of basking in like the energy that is coming alive. And I do think that that is part of what has made Stargate what it is, or kept it what it is, or built it, or continued to grow it, is there's an element of that. It's like, okay, right? Sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but it's consistent.
And ultimately in its own time. This thing was never
Right.
dead. Everyone was always like, oh, it's never going to come back. I'm like, it will come
Never,
back. It
never
may be
will.
2030 or 2040, but it will come back.
Here we are,
And here we
2026.
are. Just holding on to that secret for the 9, 10 days that I had to was one of the hardest things to keep in my life.
I'm
Because I
sure.
couldn't tell my staff on the channel. I just had to like okay, next week we're just gonna be very very busy. One day after the other, we're gonna have a live stream, and I need you guys to be on staff for it. And so, you know, there's some of them had to have known on some level that something was going on, but that was a really cool experience. So, Kelly, this
Oh
has
my
been
God.
wonderful to have you back.
Thank you.
I Catherine was ultimately the matriarch of the program,
Mm.
and there would have been no SGC without her. There would have been no adventure without her. And so
Mhm.
you playing the youngest, most innocent version of that character is something that's really special. And the fact that you've still kept the franchise as a part of your life all this time, and the fact that it's coming back around and you're here to celebrate that with us, that's really special too. So I know. So thanks for being here, and whew, let's get gung ho into this thing because there's a lot to look forward to.
Love this. My kids say LFG, mom. So that's what I'm feeling. It's like, let's go. Let's
Absolutely.
go. May the essence and the heart and the truth and the integrity of what this really is be amplified, elevated, activated through time, space, dimensions. May it touch us in ways that remind us of the truth of our essence, our hearts, our humanity through the stories, through the experiences, and also open up portals for things that will blow our minds. Like that is just my prayer for this. And thank you so much for having me back. I'll come back anytime. I love it. I
Ah,
love your love for this and your service. So thank you, thank you,
well,
thank
I
you.
appreciate your devotion to it and taking so much time. So I'm going to wrap up the show on this side and
Right.
appreciate you so much.
I'll see you soon.
It was Kelly Vint, young Catherine Langford in the original Stargate feature film. My name is David Reed. You're watching the Stargate Oral History Project on Dial the Gate. We've got a number of shows heading your way as I wind down season 5, which is going to be finishing probably on the 9th of December here. On a couple of days from now, on Saturday, December the 6th at 3 p.m., Stargate Fan Creations 2025. It's our end of the year look once again at different things that have inspired people to create Stargate content from around the web. Kevin Otsuji is joining us for Stargate Trivia on the 7th, Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific time. That is after Wormhole Extremists. It is going to be, I know I keep saying this, but this one is true as well, the most frenzied episode of Stargate Trivia you've seen yet. And we've got an episode on Stargate podcasts coming up. Joel Goldsmith's music is going to be highlighted in a specific episode that I'm just waiting for some more information to figure out when things are going to come into play. But we're gonna see that happening hopefully before the end of the season. But if we're going to have to wait for it into season 6, it's only because of good things happening. That's all I'll say. My tremendous thanks to my moderating team for pulling these episodes off. Anthony, Jeremy, Kevin, Lockwatcher, Marcia, Raj, Jacob, Enigma, Stephen. My producers, Anthony Rowling, Kevin Weaver, Summer Roy, Bryce Orrs, Matt Eagle S.G. Wilson. Thank you to his amazing opening sequence that that guy is so freaking talented. He brought the feature to life. That kind of setting and poster aesthetic. And to Frederick Marcoux over at Concepts Web, who's keeping dialthegate.com up and running. My name is David Reed for Dial the Gate. I appreciate you tuning in, and I will see you on the other side. Going to be experiencing this thing with new eyes, and I really hope that he enjoys it, because yeah, it's something that's going to be special one way or the other. So nice.